Hola, hola, ¿qué tal? Buenos días a todos. Primeramente agradecer la presencia de todos y cada uno de ustedes, agradecer al personal de Interop por colocar todo lo que hay que hacer para tenerlos a ustedes el día de hoy acá en esta sala reunidos. Para mí particularmente y de forma personal, un gusto nuevamente tener la oportunidad de volver a Buenos Aires. En días pasados, ahora viajando con Shahed, hace un par de semanas que estuvimos en Brasil haciendo un evento similar al de hoy. El viernes vamos a tener, como Gustavo lo anunciaba, un evento similar en Santiago, y siempre un placer para mí estar acá de vuelta en Argentina. Shahed me preguntaba en días anteriores cuál era de todas las ciudades que hay en la región y que tengo oportunidad de visitar y trabajar con mucho gusto, por muchos años dentro de Galvanize, ACL en el pasado. Le decía que Buenos Aires sin duda estaba entre las 3 top ciudades que más me agradaba visitar y tener la oportunidad de interactuar con todos ustedes como clientes por muchos años. Así que bueno, mi presentación va a ser cortita. Juan José me empezó a ver feo porque te hablo demasiado, lo cual es cierto. Entonces me dieron solamente 10 minutos para compartir con ustedes unos cuantos slides. Primeramente, ya el logo ACL no existe la marca ACL. El 13 de mayo de este año paramos nuestro website, desapareció como marca ACL, y a partir de esa fecha estamos ya en el mercado con el nombre de Galvanize. ¿Y por qué Galvanize? ¿Por qué este cambio? Primeramente, el significado de Galvanize, por qué decidimos ir por esto. Contratamos una empresa que se dedica a toda esta parte de marketing, una empresa americana, y finalmente concluimos con cambiar este nombre. Ahora, el motivo por el cual cambiamos este nombre viene primeramente desde el 2011. ACL adquiere una empresa de papeles y trabajos electrónicos. En ese caso, el nombre de esa empresa era una empresa en Nueva York, se llamaba workpaper.com. La adquirimos y la incorporamos en nuestra familia de productos. A partir de ahí, la empresa como tal y toda la parte de ecosistemas de servicios empezó a cambiar de forma bastante acelerada, ¿sí? Hasta llegar al tiempo, todavía a finales del año pasado, como ACL adquirimos una segunda empresa, esta con base en Nueva Jersey, y a partir de ahí nuestra propuesta en términos de productos en el mercado era bastante amplia. Ya el nombre, que era lo que llamamos como un legacy, no representaba en este caso la oferta en términos de productos de lo que estábamos comercializando, y fue la razón por la cual decidimos cambiar el nombre, ¿sí? En esta lámina lo que estamos compartiendo es la familia de productos que teníamos como ACL hasta noviembre del año pasado, incluyendo este año todavía. Y ACL, la adquisición más reciente que hacemos, es una empresa de Nueva Jersey, como decía, de nombre RSAM, la cual también como marca desapareció. Es una empresa que tenía mayormente su base de clientes instalados en Estados Unidos y venía con una propuesta específica en términos de productos orientados a la parte de GRC, pero muy orientados a la parte de TI, seguridad de información, cyber security o seguridad, para darle un nombre un poquito más en castellano, toda la parte de continuidad de negocios y todo lo que nosotros traíamos como propuesta de GRC. Entonces, como tal y de manera vertical, a donde orientábamos en este caso las soluciones, y a partir de ahí fue que se tomó la decisión. Ya veníamos trabajando en un proyecto de cambio de marca, y a partir de ahí se toma la decisión de hacer una integración de todos los productos, y como resultado del cambio de marca, el cambio de toda la familia de productos también tiene una repercusión. A partir del 13 de mayo, nuestra familia de productos son estos nombres. Vienen por verticales, productos como pueden ver muy orientados a la parte de GRC, dependiendo lo que en inglés llamamos use case, o sea, dependiendo en este caso los verticales, llámese auditoría interna, llámese control interno, áreas de riesgos corporativos, algo de lo que llamamos terceras partes, la parte de continuidad de negocios y la parte de manejo de políticas corporativas. Entonces, cada uno de estos verticales como tal, que están en amarillo o naranja, representan una familia de productos, las cuales ya en la mayoría de los casos están disponibles. Hablando en expresión porteña, ojo, porque los productos adquiridos y más recientes que fueron los de RSAM, de forma inmediata todavía dentro de Estados Unidos, fuera de Estados Unidos, no van a estar disponibles para comercializar. Nos va a llevar un tiempo porque lo que queremos hacer, y algo de lo que Shahed nos va a compartir, es integrarlo lo máximo posible al concepto de lo que nosotros veníamos trabajando como GRC. Entonces, ese proceso como tal nos va a llevar algunos meses. Los productos adquiridos o comercializados por RSAM no van a estar de forma inmediata disponibles fuera del mercado de Estados Unidos, y esa es la razón. Como pueden ver en la parte de abajo, lo que queremos hacer es que todos nuestros productos estén apuntalados y estén vinculados y estén complementados con la parte de lo que llamamos robotic. Y es el único nombre de producto que todavía quedó como ACL. ACL Robotics, ese sigue activo. Y en la parte de arriba lo que queremos hacer es que a final de cuentas todo lo que se esté haciendo acá tengamos la posibilidad de estar haciendo representaciones gráficas a través de lo que llamamos storyboard. ¿Sí? Entonces, tanto la parte de abajo, robotic, como la parte de arriba de presentaciones finales, todo va a dar un soporte a toda la parte de la familia de productos de lo que tenemos en el lado del medio. RSAM como tal ya aparecía en el cuadrante mágico de Gartner, y nosotros como ACL también a partir del año pasado empezamos a aparecer dentro del cuadrante de Gartner. Uno de los objetivos corporativos de aquí para adelante es estar en la medida de lo posible lo más cercano a esta parte, que seríamos en este caso, nuestro objetivo es estar como líderes en el mercado de GRC. Hacia allá vamos desde nuestro punto de vista corporativo y como parte de iniciativa como tal. Estamos dentro del cuadrante de Gartner, no estamos donde nos gustaría estar, y a través de la preferencia de todos y cada uno de ustedes como clientes queremos llevarlos y queremos estar como líderes en el mercado de soluciones de GRC. Juan José ya me bloqueó. Ya no puedo adelantar mi presentación. No quiere decir que mis 10 minutos se acabaron. Problemas técnicos, tecnología, ya saben ustedes lo que es trabajar con tecnología, ¿no? Nunca se confíen del todo de trabajar con tecnología, ni le crean a los que venimos acá a vender que les va a solucionar la vida tampoco. Van a enfrentar problemas como este tipo. Y acabaron 10 minutos. No, pero vayamos a la lámina anterior. La lámina anterior, ¿qué pasa? Porque aquí la mayoría me hacen favor de levantar la mano los que ya son clientes de Galvanize ACL. Más del 50%. Ok, todo este cambio para ustedes como clientes, ¿qué representa? Representa, bueno, ir de la mano en términos del enfoque estratégico que tenemos de ahora en el futuro, como organización. Representa de nosotros hacia ustedes un compromiso firme en términos de colocar productos de innovación tecnológica, inclusive más acelerado. La persona a cargo es a cargo de esa gran tarea y esa misión, el señor Shahed, que viene a hacer su presentación después de mí. Y Para los que adquirieron los productos, tengan los productos que tengan productos en la parte analítica meramente o tengan toda la solución de GRC, para ustedes no representa ningún cambio en términos de funcionalidades. Para nuevos clientes, a partir de agosto, viene un cambio en términos de funcionalidades. ¿Por qué? Porque los productos, como mostré en la lámina anterior, van a estar segmentados. Alguien que sea del área de auditoría, vamos a colocar funcionalidades orientadas solo al área de auditoría. ¿Sí? Pero ¿qué pasa con un cliente existente de GRC? Un cliente existente de GRC va a tener y va a seguir teniendo toda la funcionalidad que fue adquirida. O sea, para un cliente existente, este cambio no tiene ninguna repercusión. Para clientes nuevos, sí, porque vamos a tener segmentados los productos. Más que eso, no hay ningún cambio. Tenemos el compromiso firme, como lo mencionaba, de continuar en un proceso evolutivo sumamente acelerado y un compromiso de innovación tecnológica para colocar soluciones en las manos de ustedes y hacer sus vidas del día a día cada vez más fáciles. Bueno, con eso termino. Muchas gracias.
Hola, buenos días. Sorry, unfortunately I don't speak Spanish, I apologize, but I promise you next time I come here, I will present in Spanish. How about that, Gustavo? Yeah, I'm practicing. Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor for me to be in Buenos Aires. It's the first time in this beautiful city, and I'm really enjoying it. Beautiful city, amazing people, and delicious food. It's great, and more importantly, it's been an honor to be here, invited to the stage, and to also go around and meeting some of the customers that we have here. This is really, like what you do is the source of inspiration for us to keep evolving the product. And that's really where the inspiration comes from. And that's how we've been evolving the product, seeing how the GRC, the risk, compliance, audit, industry, the professionals, the practitioners, how that has evolved in the past 10 years or so. And that evolution of the industry changing is really making us, as the providers of the technology, to make sure that we keep up with the change and empower you to do the heroic things that we do in the organization. And really, that's the changes, how in the recent years, it's more the risk, audit, compliance, security professionals are becoming more integrated into the business. And they're seen as a value add to the business. And really, that's why we say that we're strengthening the organization to do heroic work. It is our group, risk, compliance, audit, GRC professionals that have made that possible, that are galvanizing or protecting our organizations. So our job as the technology provider is to make sure that you have the tools to do your job, and as the heroes in the story. So think about it like this, that if you're Batman, we're Alfred. So our job is to make sure that you have the tools, the technology to get your job done and to make real big impact, because that's what heroes do. They make big impact. And we have a lot of customers around the world that are doing that and having a big impact in their organizations. For example, we have a customer, Jason Gross from Siemens in North America, that they've done such great work in terms of continuously monitoring the procedures, the operations, the controls, making sure that the business is operating effectively. The program has been so successful that the headquarters from Germany adopted their program and decided to spread that program globally across all the regions. That's big impact. That's being a hero doing it. Or we have customers that they've done so much work. They started as the internal audit team, but they've done so much work in terms of looking at the operations that no longer, and involving themselves with the business, becoming partners with the business, that the front line of business, they go to them, ask for operation advice on how to distribute the shipments of their goods, of their commodities around the world so that they become more efficient. So they're not looking at internal audit as the oversight as the police, they're looking at it as their partner who can help them do their business better. And that's the kind of heroic things that we see you guys do. And there's more case studies this morning as well that we can that we'll be hearing about that is making a big impact. So really, when it comes down to it, what does making a big impact? What does it mean? It truly means that you're delivering, you're creating that executive confidence. That we are displaying the risk landscape to the executive, so that we highlight where are the areas in the organization that we should be focused on and quantifying the risk itself. And then bringing transparency to the executive in terms of how in the operations, in what areas those operations are being effectively run, they're performing well, and in what area there's improvements that needed to be made, and having that transparency to the executive so they can focus on the right areas and feel confident about the areas that are functioning well. Being a hero and delivering the executive confidence is showing real-time measurements of the operations. It's looking at the data in the organization, the back office system, your ERP system, your CRM system, bringing that information in context of the procedures, the controls, the processes, and displaying the measurements, the right measures in real time, and then aggregating that information to Perfect. Yeah, and then aggregating that information up to the measurements that matters to the organization and to the executive. So displaying this information in real time about what matters, what are the risks, what matters to the executive, and then displaying in real time information on what's effective, what's not, and what are the true measurements that resemble the effectiveness of that. That's what brings in the executive confidence, and that's what helps the governance, the audit, risk, compliance professionals be part of the executive conversations and delivering value to that table. And that's what we see as heroic work, and that's the vision behind our technology to make sure that we're building a Batmobile for Batman, that you are not a Honda City. That is our vision behind building the Hybond platform. So what inspires us to deliver our product roadmap is what you do, the day-to-day work that you do, how industry is evolving, as well as what technology, what makes it possible, what technology evolutions makes it easier for us to do the things that we do. So we marry the two sides, what's possible with technology, what is the industry and what the professionals are doing, and we make that possible to make the best Batmobile that makes your job, your work possible to save Gotham City. So what Hybond is an end-to-end integrated governance platform for audit, risk, compliance, IT security professionals. And I'd like to draw a little diagram to show you what we mean by integrated and how you do the work, your everyday work, and how that can simplify. So when you think about your organization's structure, the very first thing in an integrated environment, in an integrated system, you want to define your organization structure. And the organization structure starts from your strategy as well as your enterprise level risks, the top level risks. And then the other thing that influences our organization's operations is the regulatory obligations. What are the external regulations that we need to be compliant with, or contractual obligations, or even internal policies? What are the requirements that we need to be compliant? And that's what dictates the procedures, the operations, our operations risk and control and procedures framework. So in an integrated governance tool, what we do is we define all this information information, and we associate how those risks are being mitigated and how those regulatory requirements are being met. And we create this mapping that describes our organization's operation. Now, the real work begins. Now we need to do our assessments. Now we create our governance projects. And I'm purposely being loose with the term governance project is because in context of different teams, it's a different activity. So for example, if you're an audit team, you're auditing those controls. If you're a compliance team, you're testing your controls and procedures, making sure that you're meeting those requirements. Or if you're a risk team, you're doing the risk assessment, identifying your operational level risk, making sure that those risks are being mitigated and how they aggregate up to your top risks. So regardless of the team, the activities are very similar, as well as everything is coming from the master framework of the organization. But the context of the work is slightly different. But the tools that you need are the same. Like, for example, things like having the workflows and questionnaires and surveys, and when you do your testing and you find deficiencies or gap or issues, being able to document those issues and having a central repository for all your deficiencies. Having a workflow for resolving those deficiencies, those gaps, and remediating them, testing them, signing off on it, and also tracking all the to-dos and action items. A whole lot of tools that you need to collaborate with your colleagues, a lot of tools that you need to collaborate with the business, with the first line of defense. All that information, all the tools are available to you to make your life a lot easier and simplify the running around and chasing after different pieces of information. All that is brought to you in HighBond inside those projects, whether it's an audit engagement or a compliance readiness project or risk assessment. What makes HighBond different than any other GRC platform is the fact that we believe true assurance and true assessment is done by looking at the data. Otherwise, if you're not truly looking at the data, you're just making a subjective assessment. Or if you're looking at a sample of 20 or 30 transactions, you're really guessing that hopefully I find something in a tiny subsample. If you want true assurance for truly bringing that confidence to the executive level, we believe that you need to look at all the operational data. So if your operation, your management is happening in ERPs and CRM, governance and oversight is happening in your GRC application. And to truly have that oversight, we need to be able to access all of our operational systems, whether it's a cloud application like Salesforce or Concur, or if it's an on-premise ERP system like an SAP or Oracle systems, we can connect to all that information, extract the data that represents whether the control is effective or a process is being run properly, transform that into a key risk indicator or a key performance indicator. And then, more importantly, when we find a transaction that's particularly an exception or an anomaly, we want to know more about that transaction. Why did that payment go through? There are workflows to investigate and remediate those transactions. So when we find that transaction, why did that payment go through? We can immediately forward that to someone in finance and ask them to fill out a form to say, this is the reasoning behind this transaction. Or that if the reasoning was flawed, then we need to take action to reverse it or what have you. That can become part of the governance program so that we can bring in that assurance. All that data-driven work here is going to help us make assessment on how effective is a control in real time, because we're doing this every day, every night, every hour, every month. And because from our governance program, we've extracted that information from the master library, that feeds the information back into the definition of our organization. So at any given time, we have visibility to how much of our compliance and regulations are we meeting, as well as how well we're mitigating our enterprise risks. So that bringing that executive confidence by showing them we're operationally sound, issues are being identified and remediated, and showing them the measurements that's relevant to that. And that's what we mean by saying an integrated governance platform with data automation. And that's what Highbond represents. So how this transforms in terms of the product that Sabino was talking about, to those programs that I was talking about on the side where you do your testing and collaboration with the team and asking for evidence and attaching all the evidence and do your reporting, that's going to be done in products that we call audit bond or compliance bond or controls bond and so on. In terms of when we have multiple teams working on the same integrated platform, then we expand into the Highbond Enterprise, where they can share the master library, but audit in their own environment, segregated from everywhere else. They do their own work, and then compliance in their own area, they perform their own work, but yet everything is growing up to the master enterprise level framework and giving that visibility across. So you can see, oh, audit has already tested this control and it's effective, so I can rely on their testing. Or if the methodology in your organization is the other way around, say, no, we want an independent assessment, you can perform your assessment as well and have both views aggregate up to the enterprise. And all that, obviously, is powered by ACL Robotics to automate all your data automation and processing and testing. So that's what we mean by Highbond, and I hope this gives you a good picture of how everything that we've talked about has transformed, and how you can see that ACL how has transformed into a larger GRC platform, and the reason behind changing the name to Galvanize, as this is the backbone you need to protect your organization. Why our customers choose Highbond? Primary reason is the data automation. Is that knowing that without truly looking at the digital footprint of your operation, you can't really have that complete assurance. And also with the automation, because you're automating the repetitive tasks, you're saving yourself a lot of time because you're not repeating the same thing every time. You just have the robots automate do the same thing over and over again. The second reason is because we believe we've designed our platform based on best practices. And we believe that in order for you to take most advantage and have the highest return on investment is if your team, your methodology, and your organization is following best practices, and our technology is following best practices, then that's a very easy implementation, and you have time to value very quickly. So you don't need months and months of projects to implement this, and 6 months later, $500,000 later, you're still trying to build the system, build the technology to do your work. No, that's bad. That is wrong investment. You need to spend your time doing the work that you do, not building the technology. That's our job. So if we build our technology based on best practices, then you can just quickly, by just configuring some simple workflows like, do we test this once, or do we test this twice or 4 times? Or do we do a design review, or we don't do a design review? With just simple configuration of the workflow, you're up and running very quickly. And then after that, it just becomes about building those reports. That's our philosophy, and that's why our customers choose that, because they don't want to spend time configuring a system from scratch and building it to match their old Excel reports. And because we built that based on best practices, we're able to offer a good user experience. A good user experience equals high adoption. And if you want your program to be successful in your organization, you want it to be adopted by users, we need to make sure that we deliver a good user experience so that you can, that the members in your team use it, when you're using it, you're enjoying it, as well as when you're interacting with the first line of defense, the business, operations, finance, and so on. they have a good experience using it, so they adopt your program as well. So that's crucial to us, and that's why our customers choose it. And finally, because we have all of you around the world, we have a strong community of professionals that are always sharing information with each other in our different forums that Gustavo and Interop create, or forums that we create globally for everyone. It is there for you to exchange information with your peers, create benchmark information, and can elevate each other's game in your organization. And that's what makes Galvanize powerful, because of all of you. And now everything coming together, we're really proud with the rebrand of our platform and the new launch of all this activity. So that's overall. I wanted to present that and make sure you have a good view of our Hybon. Next section, what I want to talk about is a little bit about what's new. Because with the acquisition of the RSAM team, now we've increased the size of our development. So now we can even build a better, faster Batmobile all the time for you, and that's our product roadmap. I want to talk about 3 areas primarily. First, I'd like to talk about what's new in ACL robotics. I do like to talk about machine learning, and I know there's more information that's going to come to go deeper into machine learning, but I'd like to introduce it here first. And third, I'd like to talk about what is new in terms of risk, compliance, and audit capabilities in Hybon platform. So first up, ACL robotics. I know you've probably heard this year we've launched ACL robotics. ACL robotics helps you automate all those processes, and a lot of you are already using it. A lot of the repetitive processes that you do for testing the controls, assessing risk, doing scenario analysis for the risk, monitoring your financial control, and so on. All those processes can be automated using ACL robotics. We're very proud about the launch past November and seeing the adoption of our customers that were using ACL analytics on their desktop now are moving to ACL robotics and taking advantage of the automation and robotics capabilities, which I'll speak to in a minute. But first, I'd like to talk about how, with the recent release in May, we made those robots even smarter, and we introduced machine learning to our analytics capabilities. We believe that this is where I was talking about how our roadmap is influenced on one side by what you do, and on the other side is what technology makes possible. And this part, machine learning, is what technology has made possible, and we want to bring that and make it accessible for you so you can use it in your life. You can think about this, like we all use it every day on our phone, on the internet. Like you go to Google and you type in the first word, and it already completes and knows what you're going to ask. Those are machine learning algorithms and techniques that are out there that have been in use out there by different technology providers, but has not been well adopted by GRC professionals. We see our job as Alfred to bring that for you. So you, without being a data scientist, without being a statistician, you can take advantage of that and put that to use so you can build a better, smarter program. We're excited about this release, introducing the train and predict capabilities. So that the robots, the automation that we build, we can train that. We can train the robot, and we can, yeah, that's okay. It says, entrenar, predict. Part of my learning. Next year I'll figure this out. So how does that work? What does it mean? So in order to create that intelligence, the deep learning, first we need to, there are a lot of different robots and different models. But first we need to train our model with the data. So we pass the data, the historic data, the data from the past, we pass it to the model using the train command, so that we train the robot, teach the robot what it is. Like, for example, a piece of data comes in, and we say, well, this is a duck. And the next one, we say, well, this is not a duck. And then next transaction, it's a duck. Next one, it's not a duck. So lots and lots of transactions, we feed that to the model. And because the model knows how to capture that information and keeps the information, now what we do is now we want to predict. So we pass new set of information, and now we ask the robot, which one is a duck, which one is not. So that's being in its simplest term, but in our world, we have a lot of, for example, financial controls that we're monitoring. And there's a lot of financial data. Maybe we're looking for violations for in our accounts payable. Maybe we're looking for fraud. Maybe we're looking for things that are against the integrity of the organization, gift approvals, or what have you. Using this train and predict capabilities, we can pass the historic information to the robot and let the robot become more and more intelligent. And then on an ongoing basis, we can then pass new transactions and have the robot predict, is this a fraudulent transaction or is this not a fraudulent transaction, based on the historic transactions that we've looked at and we've analyzed and we spotted the fraudulent or anomalies, the fraudulent transactions or anomalies. This is definitely a very deep topic, and I know there will be more webinars dedicated to this. And like I was saying, that our goal is to make it simple for you to use. You don't need to be a data scientist or a statistician to take advantage of these capabilities. Commands are very simple. And I'll talk about some examples that we're using it. But it is something, machine learning, like I was saying, we use it every day in our personal life. Why shouldn't we use this in our professional life? We already do automation. We do automation, and we're seeing the return on our investment as we do the automation in a variety of different areas, in finance, or purchase to pay, payroll, in IT for segregation of duty, a lot of monitoring of our IT general controls. All this, a lot of work that we do we automated, and we let the robots do the work. But now we want to make the robots even smarter, more intelligent, because we want to reduce false positives. We want to do better scenario analysis for our risk assessment. We want to predict customer churn and classify our transactions better and so on. An example that I like to share is ourselves, and we at Galvanize, we use our own technology religiously. We want to make sure that we have the same experience that you do for monitoring our controls and mitigating our risks. So very recently, as we launched this new capability, our own team has started using this to mitigate the risk of losing our customers. And now this is a picture of our CEO, Lori Schultz, speaking at a town hall with our customer base in our last user conference. For our CEO, the biggest risk in our organization is losing our customers, is making sure our customers are happy, satisfied, and they're getting the return on the investment. So us, in the organization, we need to make sure, bringing that executive confidence, we need to make sure that we are mitigating that risk. So let's put the smart robots to work, and that's what we did. We started feeding the robot, training the robot with the historic information, looking at how all of our customers in the past, how they've been using the product, how often they've been calling support, how engaged were they in our community or different areas. All the data that we gathered, we fed that data to the model, to the robot, to train and see based on what type of user behavior would mean that this customer is a happy customer and uses the product for many years, or which type of behavior is for a customer that is not is going to leave or has left us recently. Then we put that data, when we fed the robot, the model with existing data of our customer. Now we're able to predict which customer is going to leave ACL or Galvanize before they've even realized that they don't like their technology that they purchased. And then that helps us with our customer success team to reach out to them and show them how they can get more value from the technology that they've invested in, and how they can get the return on their investment so that they're happy and satisfied and engaged, so that we can mitigate the risk of losing that customer. So we go in there and teach them how to drive that Batmobile, essentially, and make sure that they are getting the return on the investment, and they're satisfied and happy and successful, keeping our CEO happy. So that's putting smart, intelligent, and automation in use to mitigating one of the key risks in our organization, amongst one of the many examples that is being done every day around the world by our customers. Well, with ACL Robotics, we didn't stop there. We wanted to make continuous improvement to the capabilities that we use, so we kept on adding more capabilities. So before I tell you a quick recap of what ACL Robotics is, and this is a combination of these core capabilities. Well, first is the connector. We want to make sure that you're able to connect to all the operational systems that you have. Your ERP, CRM, and variety of even flat files, Excels, PDF, and so on that you need to bring in to form your assessments. You want to make sure that you can connect to the rest of the business. And then, now that you have that data, we want to make sure that you can analyze it and understand what is inside understand the insights inside the data. So we want to make sure that we have the analytics, and this is the ACL analytics that you've been using. Robots to do the automation and automate those activities, workflows to engage with the business and amongst ourselves to complete the information around those transactions, storyboards to visualize and display the information, followed by machine learning to continuously make that smarter. So the combination of all these capabilities is what makes ACL Robotics. So you can connect to the data, analyze the information, automate that analysis, engage with the system, visualize the information, and do it in a smarter way all the time. So what did we make better? This year we released 8 new connectors, and with every release you'll see more connectors coming in. So we have connectors to things like SharePoint and REST APIs, and this is a very generic term to connect to any cloud system. And that you connect to, for example, for your IT securities, there's a lot of cloud systems that you may be using to monitor vulnerabilities or security intrusions and so on. They typically have REST APIs, as they call it. We can easily connect to that and extract that information and apply it for testing. A lot of other IT operational systems like Jira or even for Active Directory or LDAP, being able to extract the employee information and so on. And there's a lot of connectors that we've added, and aside from the 8 that we've added, there's probably around over 20 that already existed for any data source. Secondly, actually, I forgot, even on the connectors, we even made importing Excel a lot easier. Like previously, you had to import Excel in one worksheet at a time. Now you can bring in multiple worksheets and multiple Excel files in one go, making even Excel imports a whole lot easier. So there's just continuous improvement, making your life easier. That's what we do every release. And then now that we have those data, we want to be able to do better, deeper, easier analysis. So we've added, aside from the train and predict command, we've added new commands so that you can interact with the data better, find those anomalies and outliers. We've introduced the robots for machine learning, for automation. So you have a repository for all your scripts with change management and version control, as well as easy automation. So you can schedule it to run every night, every month, every quarter, or what have you. Easier automation. Historically, this is becoming the evolution of our Analytics Exchange product. And rather than Analytics Exchange being a standalone server on its own, now it's ACL Robotics that's part of the whole GRC Hybon platform. So your automation becomes an integrated part of your GRC program, as opposed to AX that was a little bit segregated from that. While Analytics Exchange continues to be a supported product, we see a high adoption of our customers looking at ACL robotics, bringing it deeper into their high bond and GRC of day-to-day work. Storyboards would always make visualizations and visual analysis better because it's just easier. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's easier to visualize the data than to look at tables. So we want to make sure that visualizations are easier and more interactive for you, as well as the interaction with the first line of defense, those workflows, so that if we find a transaction that is an anomaly, then we can take action on it immediately, assign it to finance, assign it to HR, assign it to IT, make sure that that workflow is easy to make and easy for them to interact with. Good user experience is good adoption. We want to make sure that your program is adopted well in your organization. So we continuously make user experience improvements. So that's our improvements that we made in ACL robotics. In terms of the whole Hybond platform, in addition to creating those products that I talked about, we want to make those collaboration tools easier for you as well. So inside the platform, we have customers with large teams, like teams of 20, 30 people, and they run maybe 40, 50, some of them upwards of 80, 90 audits a year. So we want to make sure that a team of that large, they have the tools to interact with each other better. We've added tools and capabilities like planning. So you can plan all your audits that you're going to do throughout the year, assign resources to those audits, so that you have a clear plan on this is the plan for the rest of the year, these are the resources that are going to be working on these, and this is how the timelines for each of those projects. And then, again, with the automation and the workflows and the interaction with first line of defense and frontline business, we want to make that a lot easier. We've done that even in the Hybond platform for things like managing your to-dos and going through your sign-offs and actually notes, like if you're doing a review of a result of your outcome, being able to, in what we call citation mode, being able to highlight a paragraph or a sentence and then link that to an attachment to say, for example, in this document, this is the line. Or in the to-dos, if you can create a to-do, if the write-up is not good, you can highlight it and say, and make a comment that you need to update this paragraph as coaching notes or review notes, that you can use that for those type of things. Just quickly reading it, highlighting it, creating to-do that you need to go and update this paragraph. So just some of the samples of things that we continuously make better to make sure that teams of multiple people that have their own sort of sign-off and review process and so on, they can do their jobs better. This is just some of the highlights that I wanted to share. Definitely, if you go to our community website and read the release notes, you can see the detail of what's new. We really try hard to make sure that anything new that comes out, we communicate that to you. I know JJ always gives me a hard time to say that, yeah, we need to give more advance notice, and definitely that's something that we'll do better as well, particularly in Latin America. But I do invite you to monitor our community, galvanize.com. That's where we have a lot of the users around the globe that are interacting, as well as when new things come out in the product, we make those announcements, as well as a product. But definitely welcome you to join that as well. So with that said, that was everything I wanted to share here. I'm very excited to talk to you during the break and learn more about what you're doing, how you're driving the Batmobile, or if you have any questions from me that you want to learn more, I'd be happy to talk to you and learn from your day-to-day. Thank you very much for having me here. It's been an honor.